So we've briefly gone through the decision node class, and hopefully it's raised questions with you about what changes you might need to make based on your own decision map. Remember, this map is based on basically a yes and a no. That yes and no is assumed in the way that this decision node has been built. So this is a custom piece of code. It assumes a yes and a no in the way that it operates. Okay, so that's something for you to plan. Let's have a look at the decision map. The decision map code has a head and a tail. Okay, and we'll come back to that. It has a constructor, which we'll come back. We're going to sweep over the whole class first of all. We have a constructor. So when you build the decision map, its first job is to load up that data file. It then does two steps. And these I will go into more detail. Certainly that one, the ordered map. But this one, I need to explain why we have two steps. What does it mean, build unordered list? Because I pass in basically the file to an unordered list. So we'll explain what the problem is. You can, if you like, want to change the code, you're welcome to. We have an append, which will simply take any new node you build, and it follows the logic we've seen before. If it's empty, how it links to it. We have a connect to your file, which simply establishes a connection. If you look at the constructor up here, it uses that in the constructor. So there's nothing really good. Then you have this thing called build unordered list. So I want to come back to that in a moment. And then you have a build ordered map. You have a cleanup function which will tidy stuff up, but we won't worry about that too much. And you have something called build node. So you have a method called entry point, which simply gives back the head of the map, the starting point. You have a fetch, which will allow you to grab any node based on the ID. And then you have just a simple empty check. So it's not that complicated. So let's just talk through, what does this build unordered list do? Well, one of the problems with this is that when you load up this file, the basic mechanism of reading back from that file is a line at a time. So what the code did, the decision made in the code, was to break the problem down into two steps. The first stage is each row is taken out from the file, split up, and then loaded into a node. The linked list in the decision node is then used to link to a second node which has this ID. It's loaded up, all the parts are broken up and loaded correctly, then a new node, then a new node, and a new node. So you basically load up it as a sequential list. You translate, what we're doing is translating this as a bunch of a linked list where each node is represented by a line. I'll show you the code in a minute. So once you've done that, you've got everything loaded up into code, and the only thing missing are these links. So then we come to a second stage where we go through our list, we find out what the ID is, and we set the links for the yes node and the no node, and then we can clean up the linked list. We don't need it anymore. Okay, we do the whole thing. So the second stage is to link up all the yeses and the nos. So let's have a look at that, actually what it looks like in code. We pass in the file data. We're going to split the file on the commas. We create an empty decision node. And then what we're going to do, the first line is we grab a line from the CSV file and we build a node from it. So what does that build node code do? Let's have a look, scroll down, there's the build node. We pass in the line, we split up the line into a string array. So each item in any line, that becomes the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it becomes a string array holding that data, and that's held in there. We then create an empty decision node, and then taking each item from the array, we pass it. We set the node ID, the yes ID, the no ID, the description, and the question. So we build our decision node and we give it back. And when we give it back, we come back up here to the build unordered. So we've run that bit of code and then we put it in there and then we append it. Just use a straightforward append. You should recognize the append code from the list which we've done previously. So it's building a linear linked list where each item is appended to the list. Right, at this stage, the yes and the no links aren't working. Let me just find the append. There we go. Pass in a node. If it's empty, that's what you do. If it's not, you set the tail, etc., etc. We won't worry about that at this stage. Okay, so what this build unordered map is, it sticks a loop on, goes through every line of the comma-separated file, grabs the line, builds the node, and appends it. So it creates a linear linked list. What's the advantage of that? Well, the huge advantage is that the head now points to the first item and the tail to the last item. So if I want to, which I need to next, go back here and you see these links to the yes and the no path, if I want them to work, then that's what I'm going to have to do. Okay, so that's a very, very brief overview of what's going on with this code. Let me finish just very quickly with the ordered map, and then we're going to break it down even further in subsequent videos. So when we build the ordered map, we check it's not empty, we grab the head, we create a loop, and in the loop we grab the IDs, the yes and the no, we then go and hunt for those nodes in our list, and then we link them up. We set them, and then the job is done. Cleanup simply tidies other stuff up, so don't worry about that. You can look at that in your own time. So that gives you the shape of the code, of how we build up this code. Okay,